Man Who Wanted to Be Safe by Alice Brown. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Aylin Carr. The Man Who Wanted to Be Safe by Alice Brown. There was once a man who wanted to be safe. Even when he was a little boy, he was so careful about being safe that all his playthings knew it and tried to be safe too. His marbles never dropped into the gutter, and his hoop always stopped rolling just before it reached a rough piece of ground. As for his top, it would spin only a very little while, because it was afraid it might not have breadth to spin with another time. And his wheelbarrow trundled very moderately, lest the pebbles should fly up and mar its shiny sides. And when the boy grew into a man, he kept on wanting to be safe. Only the older he grew, the more he wanted it. He lived in a beautiful place where there were woods and rivers and waterfalls and red sunsets, and gold and silver underground. There were the most delightful people to play and work with, and they were always begging the man to come out and work or play with them. "Come and dig up some of the gold and silver," the men would say to him, but he shook his head. "No," said he, "we should have to work very hard to get any at all, and hard work will make us grow old." "Nonsense," said the other men. "We shall grow old anyway, and we might as well keep our blood moving." "Besides," said the man, "I have gold and silver enough. My father dug it for me." "Ah," said the other men, "then you could dig for the temple." "What temple?" asked the man. "The temple to the unknown God. It has an altar, and on the altar are vessels of gold and silver, and in the track that leads up to the altar are statues of gold and silver. And however many statues are made, there are never enough, so we must work very hard, all of us, to make more." "Why?" asked the man. The other men wrinkled their brows and stood leaning on their picks and spades. "Why?" said they. "Why?" Then their brows lightened. "Because it is the temple of the unknown God." So they went away, singing and talking, to their work, and left the man alone. Then came 3 maidens, very beautiful, and said to him, "Come dance with us." The man looked at them attentively, because they pleased him, and one most of all. But he shook his head. "I am sorry," said he, "but it really is not best for me to go." "Why isn't it best?" asked the most beautiful of all, and she said it wistfully. "I don't know where you intend to dance." They all laughed together, in a way they had. "Why, we don't know either," they said. "We shall just dance into the woods and out again, and maybe we shall dance on to the waterfall." "Haven't I heard of a lion in those woods?" asked the man. "Oh dear, yes," said the maidens. "There are several. But if you dance very hard, they put down their tails and go off to find somebody who isn't moving so fast." "Then as to the waterfall, didn't I hear of a man's falling over and getting drowned?" "Ah, but that was a poet. He was looking at the sky and hearing the roar of the water, and he was chanting what he read in the sky and trying to fit it into the sound of the water, and so he forgot the earth, and the water took him. But it didn't really drown him. It only carried him along the river to the sea." "All this seems to me very embarrassing," said the man. "I shouldn't want to be taken along the river to the sea." So the maidens went off by themselves, and the man was sorrowful, because he really liked them, and one most of all. By and by, when she had gone a little way, she left the others and came back. She looked half ashamed, as if it were not customary to come back. The red ran into her cheeks, and she gazed down at her shoe, but that only made her the more beautiful. "Perhaps," she said, in a low tone, "we may only go as far as the meadow. Then maybe you would be willing to dance." The man shook his head. He had to shake it very hard to keep himself from going. "I am sure I am doing the wise thing," said he. "The meadow seems safe, but it is quite near the wood, and we must remember the lions are there." The maiden looked at him more wistfully still. He almost thought there were tears in her eyes, but he tried to believe it was not so, because tears are so likely to make one do foolish things. But suppose you do meet a lion, said she. You are very strong. Yes, said the man. That is true. But there would be 2 of us, you see, and you are not strong, and I should have to look out for you. The maid put up her head quite proudly. He saw he must have been mistaken in thinking there were tears in her eyes. No, said she, you would not have to look out for me. I can look out for myself. Well, said the man, you must be careful. Then she began to sing, and as she danced away after the others, and the man wondered, because he had never heard her voice when it sounded so loud and shrill. They were all 3 singing as they danced along, and by the woods closed in on them, and he was alone. Well, said he at length, that's over. And he went in and shut the door behind him. Now, as the years went on, the man grew more and more determined to be safe. He seldom stepped beyond his own dooryard, though he was still quite young, but it did not seem to him as if the house even was safe enough. So he traced a circle to enclose his land and built a fence about it. But in a year it seemed to him that a great many unpleasant things might happen in so large a space, and inside the circle he traced a very little one. And about that he built a fence, and inside the fence he made a moat, and outside the fence he set a thick hedge of the bushes that grow very fast and never stop growing. Then he sat down in his house with the key of his gate in his pocket. Now, said he, I believe I am safe. So the years went on again, and the water in the moat grew stagnant and the hedge kept growing, and the man sat indoors and thought how safe he was. No one came to see him now, because whenever anyone came and called over the hedge he had called back again, The gate doesn't open. You must go away. Once a day the baker came and passed a loaf of bread in through a hole in the hedge, and the man paid him out of the gold he had by him. And this went on until the man was not young nor even middle-aged, and sat alone in his house, thinking about the last of all. He was sitting there one June day when the sky sparkled and the trees were all a wavy green, when he heard a voice calling him and went out of his door to listen. If it is anybody to attack me, he thought, it had better be on open ground. But the voice was tremulous and sweet. He thought he had heard it before, though the one he remembered was young, and this was certainly old. Who are you? He called. Do you remember the day I came back and asked you to dance with us? It answered. And he thought it sounded pleadingly, just as it had those years ago. His heart gave a leap. Of course I remember, he said. Are you dancing still? No, said the voice. I have walked quite slowly for a long time, but every day I have been walking toward you. Now the man was more moved than he had been for many years, but he did not like that at all, because it seemed to him hardly safe for his heart to beat so hard. Did you have to walk far? He asked, against his will. No, said the voice. I was never far away, but I have been going about your house in circles, nearer and nearer, and now they have brought me to your gate. Well, said he, I am sorry, but the gate won't open. The lock has rusted, and to tell the truth, I've lost the key. Yes, I know it, said the voice, but I have brought an axe with me, and I want to cut down the hedge. What? Said the man. Do you want to come in so badly as that? Oh, no, said the voice. I don't want to get in at all. I only want you to be able to come out. Then he was indeed surprised, for in all these years he had forgotten that there was anyone different from himself. Why, said he, what on earth should I want to go out for? To see the sunset, said the voice. It is very beautiful. Why, said the man, you must be mistaken. The sky hasn't been red for years and years. And the sunrise, said the voice. This morning the sky was as red as a rose. Now, said the man quite crossly, If the sky had been red, don't you suppose I should have known it? No, said the voice. Your hedge is too thick and too high. And the woods, they are all carpeted with bloom. And the cataract, it sings its old song, only 1,000 times more wonderful. And the poets meet beside it and sing and sing. What nonsense, said the man. The cataract has been still for many years. Everything is growing still, all except a little watch I hear ticking somewhere. That bothers me very much. Sometimes it hurries, and I don't like that at all, but I believe it's growing fainter. Come out, said the voice, and listen to the cataract, and drown yourself in its glory. That's it, said the man peevishly. Drown! Why, people used to be drowned there by the dozen. And the pathway to the temple, it is all lined with golden statues. They shine so that you can see them for miles and miles. Now I ask you, said the man, what has become of the men that made the statues, and the men that dug the gold for them? Dead, said the voice joyously. They died at their task in the mine or before the smelting furnace, bless God. There, said the man, I knew you'd have to own it, and I'll warrant they haven't even a monument. Few of them, said the voice. Some lie within the temple, but most of them are unregarded dust. There, said the man, you see? But the voice broke now and said, as if through tears, I beseech you to let me cut down the hedge about your house. You are too old to chop, said the man, because he could find no other reason. No, no, cried the voice. I am old indeed, but I have strength enough for that, and I tempered and sharpened my axe myself. I beseech you to let me do it. I forbid you, cried the man. I forbid you to touch my hedge. Alas, said the voice, I cannot touch it unless you give me leave. And I forbid you to tell people I answered you. I won't have them coming here spying on me and disturbing me. No, said the voice sorrowfully. Only 2 will come after I have gone away. Only 2? One of them is old age. He is here now. Who is the other? Death. Then there was silence for a time, and the June breeze, rustling in the hedge, made a sound like winter. Where are you? Cried the man. There was no answer. Everywhere it was very still. Only he could hear the beating of his heart, and that, too, seemed to him fainter than he had ever heard it before. End of The Man Who Wanted to Be Safe.
Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.